Good morning. Today's class is on glucocorticoids. So, the last class we discussed about the mineralocorticoids, and today I am going to talk about the glucocorticoids. Myself, Dr. Mahanta. So, the last class we studied that the adrenal gland is divided into adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. So the cortex is again divided into zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, and then zona reticularis. So the zona fasciculata, okay, which is the widest layer of the adrenal cortex, these secretes the hormone glucocorticoids. Okay, so the majority of glucocorticoids are secreted by the zona fasciculata, but the zona reticularis also secretes a minimum amount of glucocorticoids as well. So we know the different types of glucocorticoids, that is cortisol, corticosterone, and synthetic like methylprednisolone. So yesterday already mentioned about that. So now today we'll see what are all the things you should focus on the glucocorticoids. One thing, the how it is synthesized. So these are all the important things: how it is synthesized, how it acts, what is the mechanism of its action, and what are its actions. Okay, what the glucocorticoids do to the body. That means what are its functions on different organs and on different metabolism. Okay, that means on protein metabolism what it will do, on carbohydrate metabolism, on fat metabolism what it will do. So all these things you should know. And then what will happen, that is applied aspect, what will happen if there is increased glucocorticoid secretion, and what will happen if there is decreased glucocorticoid secretion. So all these things you should learn here. So first, this is a steroid hormone, okay, C21, which is produced mainly from the zona fasciculata. As I already mentioned in the last class, that all these hormones are synthesized from the cholesterol. Okay, now you just have a look at the steps. Okay, just see the book and see the steps involved in the synthesis of glucocorticoids. So the first thing is cholesterol will be taken up by the adrenal cells. This cholesterol will be converted into pregnenolone in the presence of enzyme desmolase. This pregnenolone will be converted into progesterone, and then progesterone will be converted into 11-deoxycorticosterone, and finally this will be converted into corticosterone. And one more thing I mentioned yesterday, from pregnenolone again will be getting the aldosterone, cortisol, and adrenal androgens. So you just have the look at the steps involved in the synthesis of steroid hormones, because yesterday itself I mentioned it. So now we'll see how it is transported in the plasma. What is its value? How much is secreted per day? Usually 90 to 95% of the glucocorticoids transported in the plasma with the plasma protein, that is with the globulins. Okay, only 5 to 10% will be freely transported, whereas the remaining 90 to 95% will be transported in the plasma by binding with the globulin. It stays in the circulation for 1 to 2 hours. When once it is secreted, it stays in the circulation for 1 to 2 hours. Later it will be degraded in the liver and excreted in the urine. So we'll go to the next slide. Mechanism of action. Okay, as we all know, this is a steroid hormone. So steroid hormone, how it will act? It easily crosses through the plasma membrane. Then in the cytoplasm, okay, it binds to a receptor. So a hormone receptor complex is formed. This hormone receptor complex enters into the nucleus and it selects a portion of DNA. So that DNA will be, then it produces, from this DNA it produces mRNA, and then mRNA produces the proteins. So these proteins acts as an enzyme, and these proteins are responsible for the action of the hormone. So this is how a steroid hormone acts. So onset of action usually same like as that of aldosterone, okay, 40 to 45 minutes. Next we'll go to the next slide. So first we'll see what it will do on the carbohydrate metabolism. It's mentioned, this hormone is named as glucocorticoids. That means it increases the plasma glucose level. Okay, so when there is secretion of glucocorticoids, you can see the increased level of glucose in the body. So how it will do that? First thing, it increases gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis means the formation of more glucose from non-carbohydrate sources, for example amino acids. So it take up all the amino acids and then it forms the glucose, and accelerate the synthesis of hepatic enzymes involved in gluconeogenesis. So this is the function of the glucocorticoids. That is, it should increase the plasma glucose levels in the body. So how it will do? One thing is it provides more amino acids to the liver for gluconeogenesis, and it synthesis hepatic enzymes which involves in gluconeogenesis. And one thing it will do, it decreases the utilization of glucose in the peripheral tissues. Okay, for example bone, adipose tissues, muscles. So all these things, what it will do, it decreases the utilization of glucose from these organs. So what will happen then? The plasma glucose level starts to increase. Go to the next slide. So this is one condition, that is adrenal diabetes. That is when there is increased secretion of glucocorticoids. So what will happen? It increases the blood glucose level, and this specific condition we call it as adrenal diabetes. That is increased plasma glucose level due to the adrenal gland, okay, due to the over secretion of glucocorticoids is called adrenal diabetes. Next, what it will do on protein metabolism. This one is having the catalytic effect. That means it enhances the release of amino acids by proteolysis in the skeletal muscle. Okay, it enhances the release of amino acids by proteolysis in the skeletal muscle, and then these amino acids will be used for the production of plasma proteins in the liver. So this is the function on protein metabolism. That is, it breaks down the protein and forms the amino acids, and these amino acids will be used for the production of plasma proteins. Then we'll see on fat metabolism. So fat metabolism, it's usually the lipogenic. It's having the lipogenic role and as well as lipolytic role. It causes mainly the fatty acid mobilization from adipose tissue, and then it causes redistribution of the fats in the body. So and also it increases the differentiation of adipose tissue cells and stimulates lipogenesis. So these are the important functions of glucocorticoids on fat metabolism. One thing is it causes fatty acid mobilization from adipose tissue. It causes redistribution of fats in the body, and then it's having the effect, that is it increases the differentiation of adipose tissue cells and stimulates lipogenesis, and also it's having a lipolytic effect as well. It's having a slight lipolytic effect. Go to the next slide. Water and mineral metabolism. It's having a slight mineralocorticoid action. Okay, mineralocorticoid action means it saves the sodium and water and excretes more potassium, and then it's also increases angiotensinogen synthesis in the liver, leading to the sodium retention, and it's also having the effect on kidneys, that it increases the GFR. Okay, anti-inflammatory effect. This is one of the important function of the glucocorticoid. It's having an anti-inflammatory effect, that these effects are not produced by the glucocorticoids which are normally secreted physiologically, but are produced by their large doses when administered therapeutically. So these anti-inflammatory effects are produced by the few factors. How this glucocorticoids produces anti-inflammatory effects? One, it inhibits the activity of phospholipase A2. It reduces the activity of phospholipase A2. It stabilizes the lysosomal membrane. It inhibits the leukocyte margination. You all know the steps of phagocytosis, so it inhibits all these steps. It inhibits the leukocyte margination, chemotaxis, and then aggregation of monocytes also inhibited. So cortisol inhibits the synthesis and release of chemical mediators of inflammation as well. So this is very useful during inflammatory conditions because it's having the anti-inflammatory effect. So that's why the glucocorticoids which produces the anti-inflammatory actions are mainly due to the therapeutically administered glucocorticoids. Effect on blood cells. You should know that these steroids decreases the leukocyte count. So you will see eosinopenia, that means eosinophils count will be decreased, lymphopenia, and then neutropenia, but it induces the polycythemia because erythropoiesis will be increased, so you will see more number of RBCs, whereas the WBC count will be decreased, so there will be lesser number of WBCs, either by increased destruction or decreased production of the cells. Then in wound healing, it actually delays the wound healing, because it prevents the development of fibroblasts. So that's why there'll be delayed wound healing. Is blocks the early stages of inflammation. So this is one thing about the corticosteroid. One more thing is in stress. Okay, in various form of stress, this glucocorticoid is the first hormone which is released into the circulation. So stress causes increase in ACTH secretion, adrenocorticotropic hormone secretion. So thus that makes that makes the secretion of glucocorticoids into the circulation. This is not needed for you people. This I will explain it in the last. Okay, one more thing is needed is on bone. Okay, what is the effect of glucocorticoids on bone? This is one of the important function of glucocorticoid. First and foremost function is it increases bone resorption by increasing the activity of osteoclasts and collagenase enzyme. So there will be bone demineralization. So increased bone resorption and then inhibition of bone formation. So this is the two important functions of glucocorticoids on the bone. It increases the bone resorption and inhibits the bone formation. So increases bone resorption by increasing the activity of osteoclasts and increases the inhibition of it inhibits the bone formation by decreasing the collagen synthesis, and it inhibits formation of mature osteoblasts. So it breaks down the bone matrix, so decreases the calcium deposition and then increases calcium excretion. So this results in osteoporosis. So increasing calcium excretion in the urine. So what will happen? Decreases the calcium deposition. Okay, so calcium is needed for the formation of the bone. So it decreases the formation of the bone. So what will happen? There will be this calcium decreases the calcium deposition. So what will happen? This excess calcium will be excreted in the urine as the GFR increases. So that's why we can see osteoporosis if there is increased glucocorticoid secretion. So it also impedes calcium absorption from the GIT. Okay, so what will happen? It makes the person goes hypocalcemic. Okay, because there will be more demineralization of the bone. Calcium will be removed from the bone and this excess calcium will be excreted in the urine. So there will be less absorption of calcium from the GT. So all results in hypocalcemia. So you can see osteoporosis. Other functions, it's having cortisol as anti-allergic effect. It decreases the number of eosinophils. As already mentioned, it decreases the number of leukocyte count. So it decreases the number of eosinophils and lymphocytes. It suppresses the immune response by reducing circulating T lymphocytes. So it reduces the number of T lymphocytes in the circulation. So by thus suppressing the immune response, and it stimulates the gastric secretion. So in the next class I will be dealing with the regulation, how this hormone secretion is regulated. Thank you.